Squad.
Today's guest, he is a real estate agent, and he's been in the game for a while. He's killing it. Guys, if you're listening on audio, you got to go ahead and tune in on YouTube. This guy looks like a rock star. He looks like a superstar. I get crazy good vibes off of him. Vic, welcome to the podcast, man. Thank you.
Man. Thank you, brother. Truly blessed to be here. It's an honor to be here, man. It's been some time. I think it was about 30 days. Yeah. We waited to get on the show.
Yeah, a lot of things going on, man.
We're here. We're ready to rock.
Yeah, man. I've been looking forward to this episode for sure because, like I said, I've had a lot of questions when it comes to like buying a home and things like that. But you know, off air right now, you told me a lot about yourself, and I like to keep things as far as my research. I like to keep it real simple because I like the conversation to be as organic as possible. I like to find things out in the moment so that the podcast seems genuine. You know, like it's just a regular conversation that I'm having with another person. So earlier you touched on some of the things from your background. Why don't we go ahead and talk about it again? Why don't we start from you obviously have a lot of life experience. You've done a lot of different things. Why don't we go ahead and kick it off maybe around sometime towards the end of high school, college area? You know, what were you doing then? What was your mindset like? What did you want to get into?
I mean, bro, I graduated out of high school in Palmdale High, you know, so I grew up here. I'm an AV guy, but I had ambitions outside of the AV like everyone else. Wanted to go down the hill, you know, start a career. I'm Armenian, so, you know, the parents and the cultural effect of having to go into getting a degree and falling into a career was kind of where I was kind of manipulated to go, so that's the route I took. I got accepted to Cal State Northridge. Dope. Went that direction for a little bit, but then I jumped into the Army, man. So went and served in the U.S. Army. I was a 14 Tango Patriot missile operator. Served at Fort Bliss for 3 years. Got out, and then just like everyone else, man, just started to just try to find my way in a sense, bro.
Right,
you know,
right.
Jumping through different careers, and then we kind of touched on it. I mean, I've done a multitude of things: fashion, sports agency, you know, Rite Aid warehouse. I worked there, bro. I worked at Walmart meat department.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I've done it all, man. Yeah, from executive positions to, you know, serving meat in Walmart.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you got out of the military, what was one of the first jobs that you had? Was it something that you trained?
No, man.
The military prepared you for?
Bro, you transition, and everyone kind of... The thing is, when you get out of the military, unless you're an officer that went and received a degree in the military, you're typically going into law enforcement, man. It's kind of like this pedigree that they've developed, and then you kind of get out and follow the crowd, because even though you're a Patriot missile operator, you're literally a truck driver with a gun. Right, so it's not. Then it sounds nice because the way I say it, I was a Patriot missile operator. People are like, this guy, he's a missiles engineer. No, I was just driving the truck, bro. That's what I was. I was the truck driver, but just a glorified version with a 14 Tango, MOS. But after that, I went to try to do correctional officer. Went and took the test. You know, went and try to do that direction. I wasn't selected for it. And then from there, man, it was just, you know, it was a part of my life where I couldn't find a way. And I felt like I was very disconnected from my true nature. And so then I was just kind of jumping around.
And how old were you at this point in your life?
I'm like 22, 23.
Okay.
And then that's when kind of I had the ambition of, let me go and try to get into the restaurant business and in the nightclub business. And that's when Crave, the opportunity opened up, and worked with Nakiro in London with their project at Crave with the restaurant, and then kind of like managing the nightclub. And so try to get acclimated to that lifestyle and kind of that kind of entrepreneurship, you know, the nightclub game, the alcohol business. It's a very lucrative business, a lot of cash. So.
At that time, did you already have prior experience in the nightlife industry, or that was your first taste of it?
I did, brother. So circling back, right when I got out of the military, I worked at Vanguard on Hollywood as a bouncer.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually, bro, I was the smallest guy there. So
right. Okay.
I'm like 180 right now, but
right on.
But yeah, so as a bouncer, so then, you know, that's where I kind of saw the scene, and you know what intrigues me about the nightclub industry is the amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, that like the amount of money the consumer spends at the nightclub. Right, when you see the drinks are flowing, the tabs grow, the bottles that are purchased that are not even finished.
You worked at a local nightclub out here. I can only imagine what it's like in a Vegas nightclub. Right? Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, the bottles were, 300 here? I think 500 for a top shelf like Grey Goose and maybe Patron, but the 300 was for like that pop-off type, knockoff vodka. But people were paying it, bro.
Yeah,
you know?
And you know what else is interesting to me about the nightlife industry and clubs and the way that they sell alcohol is just how much of it is based on people's need to get validation from others.
Right.
For example, when somebody buys a bottle at a club, what do you guys do, right? You guys make a big deal out of it, right? You guys send the girls with the things because it looks good.
The sparklers.
Right? And the person buying the bottles feels good. Because they're like, yo, look at me, I got it going on, right? So that's a crazy thing about that business is that so much of it is psychological, and it's kind of cool, I guess.
You just nailed something that's probably people have never talked about. Is this? It's like society in a club, literally like. It's like Instagram in a club, bro.
Yeah.
Like who has the pull, who has the image, who has the money, who's gonna, pull the girls towards a certain direction. But again, it's all about validation, man. It's all about being seen. It's all about that self-image, the ego, and it's interesting, man. It's a whole interesting space. It opens you up to just a different perspective, especially when you're working, because you're not.
You get to see the other side of it.
Right. You're actually seeing the people come in, the beautiful women come in, and then what they look like
when they get out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whoa.
And then also, you've seen the same girl every 2 weeks. Like,
every 2 weeks.
And you're back?
Mascara's coming off, eyelashes, hair extensions are off. Like, You were good, but nah.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that happens in my industry in the event production, working behind the scenes.
Right.
We get to see what really goes on and versus what the crowd sees and what they see.
You see it at a mega scale. You're talking about big concerts.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of these artists, people love, but they don't realize exactly how big the team is behind them to make them look good on stage.
Right.
And all of that stuff. Talking a little bit more about this experience you had in the night industry, because I am a DJ, I feel like this touches pretty close to me. How does that work, man? With you guys, with booking DJs, is that something that you were involved in, or was there somebody else in that club that took that responsibility?
Who was the owner at the time, was really already kind of engraved into that position of getting the DJ. So she had the resident DJ. I think Hurricane was the resident DJ for a long time. And then it was just getting talent in, man. But again, it's really about who can pull the crowd.
Right.
The DJ's a promoter.
Basically.
Right? I mean, look at Tiesto, for example, making a few $100,000 a night because he's going to pack the club, right? And they're going to pay a premium ticket just to get in, and bottle service is going to be triple. It's a business.
Yeah, it is, which goes back to, if you're listening and you're a DJ and you're more like, oh, it's all about the art, I just want to be able to be a good DJ, but you're not building a brand on social media, you're not building a brand for your name. All these things affect you when it comes time to getting booked.
And now it's even easier, bro. You have Instagram, you have social media, you can run ads to promote for people to come. Before, DJs had to go with flyers.
Yeah.
You know that. You know the hustle, man. It's like real estate agents, door knocking. We still do it. It's actually probably more effective than social media, right? Because you get to have that engagement.
Exactly, yeah.
You have to kind of pick and choose who you're bringing to the club, because that matters too. Who follows you?
Yeah, I chose to go more. I tried to get into the club business, and then when I saw what that was like, how much DJs were making, I follow a lot of DJs, and a lot of these guys are playing a lot of different gigs a night. They'll come do a set in this club, then they'll go to the other club to do that set. But then when I find out how much they're getting paid for that, and how much work goes into it that is not to do with the DJing, it just seemed a little crazy for me. I was just like, let me just go down the private event road instead, where I don't need to worry about bringing X amount of people through the door. Because at the beginning, I feel like if you're like in your early 20s, you're in a college area at time in your life, you got a lot of friends that are willing to go to the club. Right. As you get older, if you're trying to be a career DJ, right, a professional DJ, as you get older, like you need to really start getting fans, because your friends are not going to be able to go every weekend to go support you.
Your friends have kids.
Your friends are getting kids, they're getting married, they got jobs.
Working 2 shifts.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I'm down to go tonight, bro. And then again, I don't know about that. And then, you know what I'm saying? So that's pretty interesting.
Look at the pandemic, bro. It's probably shifted the psychology of nightclubs in general. Like, who wants to be in close proximity with anyone right now?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like you see in Miami, I guess it's still going on. But for me, I'm a little apprehensive to be in a nightclub and somebody breathing down my neck. I'm not even into it anymore.
Right.
I'm 33. You know, I
Yeah,
grew
you
out
can
of
grow
it.
out of it
Yeah.
at some point. Yeah, music festivals as well. Everybody's really jammed in there and sweating and just sharing. I don't know if you've been to an EDM festival,
Bro,
ever,
I
but
have.
do you realize? Do you ever have this experience where like you're just in the crowd and somebody comes through that's like on ecstasy or something? They're like dying of thirst. Like, can I have some water, please? And people are just sharing water. Has that ever
How
happened
about
to
the
you?
love bracelets, bro?
Yeah.
Everybody's like giving each other love, and it's a whole different vibe, though. It's a cool experience, man.
It's definitely a cool experience, but after COVID, I don't know.
Oh, dude.
I don't know if I want to
Dude,
give
there
anybody water.
COVID was at EDC. Tell me that shit didn't start over there.
Yeah, that's it could definitely be. There's so many people out there, and then they all come from different parts of the world, and then they go. They
It's
leave
nasty,
again.
bro. I remember the porta potties. I mean, come on. Unless you had the VIP, which I would pay for after one experience, just so I can have some cleaner bathrooms, even though those would get disgusting by the end of the night. Just that whole, there was no hygiene.
Yeah,
People scratching each other,
ugh.
coming up to each other, hugging each other.
It's crazy.
It is,
but
man.
you don't realize it when you're drunk and having a great time.
And probably on Molly too.
Yeah,
Or something
exactly.
like
All right, man. So you are in the night industry. How long did you do that for?
that. It was like about a 2-year run, and then I got married, bro. So I
Okay.
got married. I met my wife my ex-wife at the time at the club.
Okay.
So got married, did my thing, and then I went into Forever 21. I was a assistant co-manager at Forever 21.
Okay.
So that's where the whole fashion started.
That's where that started.
Yeah.
And then you were there, and then after that, you continued to get into fashion.
Yeah, so I went from there and went to Kitson in Santa Monica. So I worked at Kitson's kind of like a premium luxury realtor. Sorry, not realtor, like a retail store.
Okay.
So they sell like nicks and knacks, gifts, books, all sorts of things, man. They're actually known for their main store on Robertson Boulevard, where a lot of celebrities, Paris Hilton shopped there. I think Britney Spears, when she shaved her head, the first place she shopped was there. Huge celebrity clients. I mean, I've helped Meek Mill, Nicki Minaj shop at the Kitson on Melrose. So just that exposure, man, that was a good place to work. And then, so I was a manager there, and then kind of transitioned into the corporate office there, working with helping the owner allocate, and then kind of went into a buyer role at the end of it when the company was kind of spiraling downward.
Right. Now, when you're kind of jumping around like this, going into different jobs and different industries, things like this, at this point in your life, man, what's your mind frame? What are you thinking? Do you know the direction you want to go, or you're just kind of going with the flow? These are things you're doing while you're getting your license to be a real estate agent, or what's the thought process?
So in the process, after I was a buyer for a little bit, I went to school. So I went to school. I didn't become a real estate agent 2 years after I actually went to initially went to school. Then 2 years after I actually got licensed, because I gave up on it.
Why is that?
Just jumping around, man. You need to live, make money, So I was chasing money. Kitson was good. I was getting paid well. I was living in Hollywood. The rent was expensive.
Right.
Right. That cost alone, you don't really have much freedom, flexibility to go into real estate where your commission is you get paid by commission.
Right.
So it's different, So, but at that time, bro, I was jumping around. I was heavily on drugs, a lot of alcohol at the time. That was when it was my peak of the drinking and the partying was starting to get a little excessive.
Was working in a nightclub the start of that?
No, I was sober at the nightclub. Believe it, bro, because at the time I was in phenomenal shape. I was bodybuilding and just, I had a lot of friends who were in the bodybuilding industry. So we were just, working out together and staying healthy. So I was actually sober at Crave, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had to be because of the job and
of course,
and being there and being accountable. You can't be lit,
Yeah. If you don't mind sharing, how did you get into drugs? Like, what is it that got you to that point?
Just money, man. When you have money, you're around it more, I guess, right? You're around the people, and you don't really see it till you get to there's this kind of money. So there's like the you make some money, then there's like you make a little bit of more money, then you get exposed to different type of people.
Yeah.
And that's when cocaine and some of the party favors you start seeing frequently.
They start coming around every party.
It's there, bro. It's like accessible.
Yeah.
Right? So then all it takes is how it is one time, and then from there. But I've always had a drinking problem for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I assess it now, I've been sober for about 2 years.
Okay.
2 years and some change.
That's good. Congrats.
When I go back and you assess your life, and part of your AA program is really reflecting on your life and going back and just trying to find areas of your life that you have resentments and things of that nature. For me, I was probably an alcoholic when I was 18, if not earlier.
What? Wow.
Because of the way I drink. And I never drank to just have a good time. There was no pause in it. Right? I
So
couldn't
you just drank until you blacked out?
That's it, man. Every time, bro. I used to sit and play FIFA and drink a whole bottle of Grey Goose.
Holy shit.
But for some reason, it seemed normal.
Right.
You know, something to do. It's Friday. Didn't have anything to do. I'll drink. I'm responsible. I'm at home. I'm not driving.
Okay, so I can see how your reasoning goes. Now, this is interesting. I had a friend who passed away, and he was in the military. Yeah. He drank a lot. He was a big drinker, and a lot of our close friends and family would get worried. Every time we would have a party, you know, he would just get hammered, and it was just kind of like, oh, we got to look out for Edwin, you know, watch out, you know, and we would just get worried because we felt like it could be bad for him. Is there a sort of connection between being in the military and drinking? Because obviously I'm not in the military. None of my other family and friends are in the military, but some of the military guys that I've met in my life, a lot of them could drink, you know, heavily. Like they can handle some liquor. Yeah. You know, is there a connection there, or you wouldn't say there is?
I don't think there's a connection, man. It's the trauma, I think, for most people, right? You'll get PTSD guys. God bless, I didn't go to war like some of these guys have, you know, and it's their inability to handle those emotions, the trauma that they've seen that, I mean, we couldn't even imagine or fathom, right, what they've seen. Like, I don't even know. Some people have seen friends get murdered, killed, you know, in war and bombed and whatever else happens, you know, overseas. But I don't know if the connection is to the military. I think it's a lack of resources in the military and the lack of preparation on how to handle those things and how to shift your mindset, right, from transitioning. A lot of it's to transition too, man. They make you dependable. Sorry, you're dependent on them, right? Because they're financing you. You get free medical care. You get free food. So a transition for a lot of them is very difficult, man. And they don't have a good resource outside. They have the VA, you know, benefits and this and that, but they don't have mentors, coaches, people to coach them back into life, man. Because if you're doing it for 10 years, to go back and now have bills and responsibilities and
fresh out of like, was your situation fresh out of high school? Like you were really young?
05, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you kind of didn't really have a lot of or any real world experience.
Right.
That was your real world experience, the military in the beginning, right?
Yeah, and I it was short for me. It just wasn't. It wasn't something that I even looked at long term. I just wanted to. For me, it was actually kind of trying to seek self-discipline, man. I had discipline issues, and so I felt like it was gonna set me on the right course as far as discipline, and it did, man. I mean, still to this day, I think I'm one of the most disciplined people. Oh, like my morning schedule, my 4 a.m., my meditation, my journaling, everything's just regimented, but it's for a reason. It's for so I could be in peak performance, you know, at all times.
Well, we'll get into all of that because everything you just mentioned is stuff that I'm really into. Yeah. So this is all real good stuff. Getting back to, you were in Hollywood, I believe you said, and you got really into drugs and alcohol. Yeah. Right. When did you realize, like, okay, I have a problem and I need to change it?
So in my last previous relationship is when it started spiraling down, when it became an everyday thing. So I got a really good job. I was working with a chief operating officer out of a company called Wanda up in San Francisco. So it was a healthcare company. We were helping this company literally distribute across the United States. It was this cool healthcare system out of like UCLA. Research was done. I mean, it was amazing, man. It was robust. It was something that could have been something, but if I was in the right state of mind to be able to push it, market it, get the right contacts, but that's when the drinking really got heavy because I was working from home, right? So it was like, oh, let me crack open a beer
while you're working,
right? Then I didn't even like beer, so for me it was more hard liquor. So it's like and
in the beginning, I imagine it's kind of cool, kind of like who else can get paid and drink at the same time,
right?
But then it kind of gets out of control.
Well, because you're an addict, so you have to find a way to talk to yourself into accepting what you're doing in your behavior, right? Because your dialogue is a little bit different when you're an addict. Yeah. When you're sober, you can talk some sense into it. Like, no, this is probably not a good idea. I have a meeting coming up. I have to be sharp. Right? You have expectations of yourself. For me, I was like, oh, if I'm drunk, I'll be sharper. Right? I'll be less nervous on the meeting. Okay. Right? I'll be more myself. Okay. No, I was a fool.
I see that.
Couldn't retain any information.
Right. So, all right, you get in there, talk to us about how you got into real estate.
Yeah, so real estate's been a blessing, man. I've been actually on a high-power team for 2 years now, going on my third year in real estate. And it was just one of those things, man, right when I was sobering up. So I was actually, when I took my real estate test, was probably the last few months of my alcoholism. I actually stayed sober to take the test. That was super hard, bro. I mean, I'm an everyday drinker. For like 10, 12 days, I stayed sober. I crash studied. I passed the test. I actually thought I failed the test, though. Why? Funny stories. Because the real estate test is weird, man. It puts you, it's a state test, so it's very protected, security, so that, you have to take off everything. You put it in bins, and you get in this dark room. It's kind of psychologically made to intimidate you, the test in itself, because you're in a room with like 50, 60 other, testees, and you're sitting down. It's a screen, and you have to like take the test on the screen, and it's all electronical. I just finished fast, man. So I actually went out to the clerk, and I was just automatically, I'm like, dude, when can I retest? He's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but here, like, you're good.
Oh.
And so then it's like, dude, it's the things like, it's a test, bro. So you're gonna get excited, you're gonna celebrate a little bit, and then it's what do you do, right? It's like, now what's next? What's real estate?
Yeah. So what is that? What is next? Because you take your test. You get your license.
Yeah.
It takes a while for you to get your license.
A few weeks.
Weeks.
The hardest process is getting to take the damn test, man.
Okay.
With everything shut down nowadays, I think people are waiting for a year. It's so backed up because of the pandemic. There's less people that could test in a room now. So, but in general, it's about a few months. Like I want to say, from the time you actually take your test to when you get licensed, maybe like 3 months, 3 to 4 months.
And you can't start selling houses until you get your license.
Well, you get your license, then you have to find a brokerage. Somebody has to insure you.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you have to you have to hang your license under a brokerage, pay all your fees. There's a little bit of an expense, man. I mean, you can't just you can't just get a client right away and sell a house. You have to go through the process to become licensed under a broker, and then you can actually start, buying and selling homes.
So you got your license. When you finally got your license, did you go through different brokers, or you just?
I did, brother. So my passion is commercial real estate.
Okay.
I make it known all the time. That's going to be my thing. I know I'll be there sooner than later. But I knew that the residential side was something that I could be really good at, make a really good income, change my life a little bit as I was sobering up. So, for me, it's a little bit different because I'm sobering up. So I know I have to focus on my business and be an entrepreneur, be a good real estate agent, but at the same time, I got to take care of my state of mind. Mm-hmm. So I knew I had to do something where I needed to go somewhere where it wasn't too much stress for me, right? So I can develop my mental health.
Yeah. At
the same time, make good money and crush it in real estate. So, I went at first. I interviewed at Marcus and Millchap. I'm not sure if you heard of them. They're a pretty big commercial space broker, top in the Southern California. And so when I interviewed there, I got the job, but it was 1 year with no pay.
What?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you might get a deal, but in the commercial sector, it's going to take you some time to get your first deal.
1 year with no pay unless you sell something.
Yeah, unless you sell something.
Okay.
So you're basically on the phones all day, 8 hours a day, prospecting, cold calling, just trying to get people to sell or buy.
Dang.
And you're usually working under a team, so what you're literally doing is you're lead generating for someone else.
Right.
For about a year.
Okay.
But again, you're building a lot of skill set because that's what it takes to get.
Right.
Be a mega agent for sure.
Okay. So then what happened after that?
So then I went to Keller Williams, man. So it was John Hart actually first, and then John Hart didn't pan out, and then I went to Keller Williams. And, Adam there who's the team leader. He's there now with the Antelope Valley Marketplace. What he had to say made sense. Their culture made sense. Mm-hmm. They had a good training program, so I could at least get my feet going, because you don't know what to do, man.
Right.
It's not as easy as people look. They see the Instagram post closed, in front of the house with keys, but there's a lot more that goes into getting that to that point that, you have to learn and be mentored to be efficient at. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then it was there, and then from there I met Rima, which our team, I'm sure you've seen us on social media.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've been for the last 2 years.
If somebody tries out real estate and they fail, what would you say is some of the reasons that people fail in real estate?
I think it's like 8 out of 10 people fail or something. It's a crazy number.
Yeah.
Don't get past 5 years.
Wow.
Bro, because you're by yourself. Nobody holds your hand and tells you what to do, or nobody actually coaches you on the amount of activity. You have to be self-motivated in real estate. You got to wake up and want to go to work. You got to wake up and want to make calls. You got to wake up and seek rejection. A lot of people can't do that because nobody's gonna tell you to wake up. You have to do it yourself. Everything is done like you're by yourself. It's your business.
So you have no time. You got to be at the office.
No, it's on you. But I mean, obviously, good agents, effective agents have schedules because the most important part of your business is to make sure you're generating new business. So if you don't allot some time for that, then your pipeline is gonna be starving.
Yeah. So 3 skills that you would say anybody aspiring to be a real estate agent should have are what?
Communication.
Okay.
You have to be a good communicator. You have to be able to take rejection, so you have to have some tough skin.
Okay.
And you have to have some faith.
Word.
That's it, man.
Word.
You could probably put in some other things, but I think if I would say one of those things out of all of them is faith. You got to believe in yourself. It's 80% is mental.
Yeah. That's crazy. It sounds a lot like entrepreneurship. Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? It's your own business. I mean, you're under a brokerage. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
But essentially, you're generating your own clients, right? Making your own sales.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. I had no idea that was the number of people that failed in real estate. Like 8 out of 10, like you said.
Yeah, it could be a little bit lower. I might be exaggerating the number up a little bit, but
it's still pretty high though.
I mean, just around me. I mean, to me, what is failure, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's the ones that do less than 5 deals a year. Like, with the $8,000 commission, you're not making much.
Right.
And plus you're paying the brokerage a little bit, plus taxes.
How many deals should somebody aim to have to just have a year to have just like a decent lifestyle? Like you're not starving, you got a little bit of extra emergency money. How many deals would you say?
To do it effectively, to enjoy life and the fruits of your labor would be about 20 deals.
A year.
Because now look at the prices have gone up, and I'm sure you've been seeing it all over the place. Like the median price was about $320,000 come when the pandemic hit. Now it's about $370,000, $380,000. And we're talking about East Side homes. Like it's expensive, man. So your commission's better, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to be a real estate agent because now we were selling about $300,000 homes. Now we're about $380,000. So your commission's better. So you're making about $8,000 if you're on the buying side. If you're on the selling side, depending on how you structure the commission with the seller, about $10,000, $12,000. So with 20 deals, you can make over $200,000.
So there is a difference in commission whether you're buying or selling.
Right. So if you're on the buyer end, typically in a market like this, it's the seller's market. The sellers are being a little bit stingy, and the listing agents are being stingy. You're getting about 2% off a transaction. The listing agent's probably taking about 3%. So or even like I've seen listing agents, because if I'm a listing agent, I'm taking that 6%, no matter what.
Word.
Unless it's family.
Right.
Because I know my worth, I know my team. We do it at a high level. So 6%, and usually it's like 3.5% and 2.5% to the buyer. Yeah.
Okay. What's the reason that houses are getting so expensive right now?
I see interest rates, man. I mean, the government's giving you free money. It's 3%. It was a little bit lower than 3% last week. We did have a little bit of a spike in interest rates as the economy's starting to rebound, but the biggest hype has been interest rate.
So that is enticing more people to buy.
Yeah, the demand is out the roof. We're looking at like 20 buyers. Sorry, maybe like 10 to 12 buyers per house on the average right now. And it looks like it's even getting more intense because the inventory is dropping.
Yeah.
We have less than a month of inventory. So if we stopped listing property right now, we didn't list anything, in less than a month, nothing will be on the market.
That's crazy.
It is.
I don't know much about real estate, but that sounds crazy to me.
That's crazy.
That sounds crazy to me. Wow. So I have a sister. She lives in Temecula, and she wants to buy a home. And they had a house over here in Palmdale.
Okay.
Sold it. They rented for a while, and they rented in a house in West Palmdale. Ended up going to Temecula because they wanted better schools for the kids.
Yeah, great area.
Now, they wanted to buy in Temecula because she looked at some of the houses. She said that it wasn't that much of a difference in certain areas of Temecula. There's like a really expensive area in Temecula, but then there's other areas that she was like, oh, I could probably get some over here. But now she's like, this is crazy. I'm never going to be able to get a house like the one that I want in Temecula with these prices right now. So then I say, come back over here. I don't want to go back to the AV, right? She hits me with that. Now she's talking about going to Arizona, right?
Dude, that's a spot. You know how many sellers are going to Arizona? And it's like Nevada, Arizona, Idaho, Colorado. I have some sellers that went that direction. Texas. It's because they can get more house for less money.
Right.
But now those places are starting to get impacted by this shift in the market, so they're getting competitive bids.
I have heard a lot of people go to Texas. Just Joe Rogan. He went. He moved his entire business out there.
Elon Musk, man, the money's moving, and so usually speaks volumes of the state, and it's just that the taxes, man, are killing people. The home values. Where are you gonna go, bro? Like California City?
Yeah.
You're laughing, but California City is now about. I just closed on one at 285.
What?
Which maybe like 2 years ago was 210, 220, new build.
Dang.
So, you
got to end up in the middle of nowhere if you're trying to get a spot out here.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, what it comes down to is and I know we touched on it right before you were talking about entrepreneurs and buying houses and everything, and everyone's different, man. I mean, everyone jumps on the hype train, but then they get house broke. And that's the conversation that a lot of real estate agents don't want with the public, because I want you to buy and sell from me. Mm-hmm. But in reality, not everyone's fit to buy. Everyone's fit to sell. Yeah, you make your money, but not everyone's fit to buy, man.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why is that?
For entrepreneurs, it locks you in. If you don't have the ability to make more money, imagine if you have a set income. Let's say you're an entrepreneur, your business is averaging about $5,000 net. You're making that at home, and now you have a mortgage of $2,500, because that's where it's probably going to be relatively on a $350,000, $400,000 purchase. Mm-hmm. You have property tax. You have utilities. What does that leave you with? What happens if you stop working? How much can you cover? Can you cover about 6 months of the mortgage and the life? No. That's called house broke. So, with our buyers and what we need to do in the industry is make sure that we assess each buyer individually. Like what's the worst case scenario? Right? And that's what we fail to do.
So would you say, as a real estate agent, if somebody comes to you and you personally feel they're not fit to buy a home, will you turn that down?
100%.
Or will you just still try to make it happen?
100%, man. I've told a lot of people to go in a different direction. I'm not your guy. I just can't. I'm not transactional, man. I'm going to be in the industry for a long time. I'm in it to make relationships. Like if I would feel bad if one of my buyers foreclosed, or if one of my buyers had to sell because they couldn't afford it. I just would feel bad putting them in a situation, at least not having that conversation. Now, there's been buyers, I've helped, and we've had that conversation. We've had that. You're going to be house broke. You don't know what you're running into. You don't have cash. What happens if your AC goes out? You just, you spent all your money on your down payment, your closing costs, and you have no money in the bank. I've seen it happen, man. So It's like, protect you and your family.
Right.
Whatever's in the best interest. I mean, I get it. You want to be a homeowner. That in itself, obviously better than renting. You're paying down your equity, but in a market like this, it's up, man. It's peaked. Your inflated prices. Like if you buy a house, the only direction it's going to end up going is probably a correction, which you'll lose about 10-15% in equity in the next year or two. Once the interest rates start to soften up and the economy starts to rebound. So again, you got to assess it, man.
Right.
You just have to assess it to your personal finances.
Now, for a lot of these listeners that are entrepreneurs, it makes sense what you just said, right? You got to make sure that you have, X amount of months worth for emergencies, anything that happens. And it's crazy because when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a set income. You're not always making the same money every month, depending on what business you're in or whatever. But how does somebody that is self-employed buy a home? What are some of those things? You
have to prepare yourself to buy a home. And that's what I guess so many people that come in and they're business owners or entrepreneurs, DJs even, man, musicians. And one, you got to show the bank that you're going to be able to fulfill your obligation of the loan, right? So if I'm the bank, I better see bank statements, right? You want to see an average of the income. So what they'll do is they'll take whatever you deposited that year and whatever's in your account, or usually they take out what you deposited and they average out on the 12 months, and that's how you get your monthly income. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, man, the biggest issue is how we do our taxes. A lot of times we're running away from it. We're like cutting everything down. So in reality, if you look at your taxes, you don't make anything. So you might be able to afford that $1 million mansion, but your taxes show that you can't afford a $300,000 house because you're running away from it. Oh, you're cutting everything out, right?
Thank you.
I get it,
dude. That has been my problem.
Yes, 100%. I know it is because I was. That's what you got. And that conversation is something that you have to have with your accountant, right? It's like, I want to buy, so let's set the buy. So then, okay, your accountant's like, okay, let's cut here, but we need to show that you make a certain amount because this is the amount of house that you want to buy. So you prepare yourself. So cut as much as you need to, but don't go that extreme measures where you're showing you make $30,000, but your business takes in cash and things like that, and you're probably actually really letting over like $140,000.
So let's say somebody like the barber industry, they work cash, right? Say that they don't claim everything they make because of tax reasons. You're pretty much saying that in a way you can shoot yourself in the foot if you're not, claiming a lot of that cash. Right.
Yeah, especially if you're buying. I mean, there are some like loan programs that are like non-QM loans, like where they're like bank statement loans only, right? So there's ones that you could just show that you put the money in the bank and you're depositing, but you're going to pay a higher interest rate for the loans. They're higher risk. Okay. So there are some ways, there are programs that are out there for buyers like that have a cash heavy business and just do deposits, and they're smart about depositing it the right way. But it's still going to come down to your taxes, because usually if you're a barber and you're your own business, just like I am, I usually run everything out of a corporation. Right, so it's a little bit smarter to like pay yourself out of the corp and do things of that nature. You get better tax breaks. So if you are an entrepreneur, you should think about LLC, S corp. It depends on how much money you make, whatever's best fit for you.
That right there deserves a bomb, because that is a major key.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little more about it. So I've always heard, having a corporation, having an LLC has a lot of benefits, right? And I started my LLC business in like a year or two ago, right? Actually, 2019, right? But it's a partnership. I have a business partner, and I want to start another LLC for my personal self so I can do what you just said. But I have a lot of questions, so here they go. Right.
I'm gonna try to answer them to the best of my knowledge, bro, because I'm not a CPA, but I'll tell you why I did it, and then like some of the things I research, so go ahead and no.
But you are already in that situation, right?
I'm in an LLC. So and the reason being is I don't make that crazy amount of money to be an S corp. I probably could have been an S corp and maybe got a little bit extra tax break. But the reason I did LLC is I could pay myself through it.
Okay.
So I can assign myself as being a CEO, for example, and pay myself a set salary and be able to write off a lot of the other expenses. So everything that goes out of my account, it goes out of my LLC account, like all the expenses, dinners, lunches, everything that you can claim as marketing events and things of that nature. So you just got to be mindful of where your tax breaks are and then structure your spending like that too. So there's a lot to it.
You started your LLC. You put yourself down as a CEO. Right? How exactly do you pay yourself? Do you just like Zelle yourself the money or what?
Well, what I typically do is every check you get alpha commission. You obviously, part of it goes to Uncle Sam, and then you have your set salary. So I have a set agreed salary for me, depending. So you just got to break it down how much you make, man. So if you're making $100,000, you like $30,000 goes to taxes. Let's just say for just numbers' sake, and then let's say you're paying yourself another $60,000 salary for the year, and then the $10,000 for expenses.
But the actual way of paying yourself, do you have to fill out a W-2 for your own business, for yourself?
No, I haven't done that.
No,
this will be my first LLC year, so I don't want to answer that wrong on you.
Okay,
on the podcast, bro.
That's my question.
I'm actually gonna have to go do all that, and probably like in the next week or two, just to take care of my own end.
That's my question. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I started LLC. How do I pay myself? Like, what's the right way to pay myself? Right? So like you got a business account, all your income goes in there. The quickest logical way for me was like, okay, I divide how much I made, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
I send that money to myself.
Right.
But is that real? My question to myself is like, is that really the proper way of paying myself? Is there some sort of paperwork I'm supposed to fill out where that way my LLC can W-2 me at the end of the year? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dude, that's the same question I have, and I'm going to have for my CPA, because most of my checks that came were paid to me, not the LLC, right? So it came under my name, not Vic LLC, but it came to my name.
Right.
So I had the same questions, man, because I'm trying to, because I know I didn't even know that like your gym membership in real estate could be a write-off.
Wow.
Right? Because it's a marketing.
See, and that's
you got to read your codes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do next. I want to, when I eventually buy a home, there's got to be a way, right, for the LLC to buy the home?
There's ways, yeah, like how investors do it, for example. Investors always set up, and the reason they do it is so they're not liable. It's like an insurance, man. It's like you're not, in case an emergency happened, they can't come after you for it. They'll come after the LLC. That's how I heard it. That's what intrigued me. I was like, okay, I'm like,
y'all hear that?
How can I hide from the IRS?
Y'all hear that? You know, it's the same way as if you were somebody like myself, self-employed. I go and buy a car under my LLC. That's a company car, right? Because I use it to get to work, to get to gigs.
And then there's certain cars that have a certain weight, and you can research this. We'll give you more of a tax break. You can write all of it off.
And okay, so at the end of the year, you can say like, this is how much a car costs.
But there's certain weight of the car too matters.
Wow.
Yeah, so the thing is, bro, we're not educated on this stuff, and I wasn't, bro. I was stupid when it comes to like setting up my finances. Just this last year, I finally got my credit score up to like a 740.
Word.
My credit score was 520, bro.
Word.
I didn't understand the value of it, but then when you start getting into business, like, damn, I can use credit, and I can revolve the credit. And they get more credit.
Because there's
it's like, damn, I give $100,000 of credit lines. Like,
yeah,
that's cool when you need to move, man. You need to make some moves.
Big facts. Yeah. Big facts. All right. So, like, you know, my parents coming from a different country, they were not too educated in finances and these things, right? And my mom is pretty educated now. She's learned a lot over the years. But it's very common to hear people say things like, "Oh, you don't want to use credit. You don't want to use credit cards. Credit is bad. Debt is bad." You know, like if you can afford something, instead of buying it with a credit card, buy it cash. You know, all of these ways of thinking is crazy.
It's all wrong, man.
And then I part of it, I grew up like that, thinking that as a child. And then as I got older, and my parents and my older sister, my older sister serves like somewhat of a mentor for me growing up. You know, she got out into the world and started meeting other people, started learning things. And yeah, it's crazy how many people think like that.
I think it's the philosophy of the whole debt thing, man. It's that scarcity, the fear. It's fear, man, because most people that were using credit cards, probably going our parents' stuff, it's like Macy's cards. We're not talking about like business credit lines. We're talking about like Macy's, and then they were getting this major debt and then 20% interest, and that's where the fear came from. But when you talk to affluent people, or, you know, more upper end CEO executives, whoever, big companies, people generating more than $150,000, $200,000, they have credit lines, man. They have credit lines.
Yeah. You
know, and they use them, but they use them resourcefully. They use them, and those credit lines give them space to move, right? Sometimes, or they bring a return. And they have zero interest, and they do balance transfers. They just know the game, man.
So is there a difference between a credit line, if I wanted to open a credit line myself, versus if I wanted to open a credit line through my LLC?
No, everything I open is still under your name, so it's still, you, like, let's say you have bad credit and your LLC has good credit. Nah, bro, your social is on the line. So.
Word.
But then obviously you can open your business credit cards.
Okay.
Right, and then you can revolve them, and obviously one day you can get to that Black American Express card that everyone wants, right? Have you ever felt that card?
Yeah. No, I haven't felt it. No.
It's
like physically felt it?
Physically felt the black card?
No, what's that like?
It's like, it's power. That's what it feels like, bro. I'm not kidding, man. Because when you're around it, bro, when you see it and you just feel it and you see the person that gave it to you. I remember seeing some girls used to come shopping from Dubai. They were like princesses or something like that. And they used to come to Kissing all the time, and they would drop like 20, 30 racks. Hermes, everything, bro. And they would literally shop, put everything on the counter, bro, leave, and then the driver would come pick up the bags.
Dang.
But they would give me that card. I just remember, dude, it's like, first time I grabbed it, I was like, is this a card, man? What is this thing? Concierge service. Oh, yeah, man. And you have that card, you go to certain hotels that don't have space for you, they have space for them.
Word.
Yeah, so there's the perks, man. You know? That's
crazy.
So that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of things that we're not exposed to that we need to expose ourselves, and the things that we're illiterate. And man, there's books out there. Yeah, bro, there's information right here. A lot of us are just too lazy to.
What would be a book or a resource that you would recommend for somebody trying to get their financial life in order?
You know what, man? I'm not one in like specific. I'm trying to think on top of my head if there was one. Kevin Trudeau had a book about credit that I read, and about like some things that were fascinating in that book were about just collections and like how they have a certain amount of time where they can actually collect the debt. And there's a point of time after I think it's 4 years in California, it's non-collectible. So after there's certain terms you could use to the collection agency so they don't bother you anymore because they're illegally trying to collect the money. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if we don't know that, we're dumb. Sometimes we pay them. And you don't even have to pay them. The debt's going to be off your record, man.
Yeah.
So there's things like that, like books like that. I mean, there's just so many, man. There's like Finance for Dummies, like, you know, like, yeah. But it's out there. Like, it's just nobody really wants to take time to get, you know.
What about and you know, we're going to shift gears in a second here, but what would be a tangible piece of advice, something that you've personally done yourself for a young person that is ready to get their financial life in order?
You know, get the right people around you. Get the smart people around you, right? Get a CPA to be a consultant.
Get a CPA.
Pay him money. Yeah, pay him money to consult if you need to. Okay. Right? Like, the way I see it is there's a lot of people who are good at it, and, like, I'm not, so I leverage them, man. You got to leverage people, leverage expertise, leverage professionals. And then you learn. You know, as you're learning, I mean, you're going to read about it. You're going to be intrigued about it because as you go on that financial freedom journey, it gets exciting, man. When you start, you know, your credit gets better and you feel the experience of going to a car dealership and getting an A credit line and being able to get the car of your dreams or whatever it is with no problems. Yeah. And so that journey, man, you just, like I said, you have to get the right people around you to kind of coach you and mentor you, because a lot of us don't have our parents, like you said, you know, are immigrants and things of that nature, and they just don't have the knowledge for it.
Right on, right on. It's good stuff here, man. If you're listening to this episode, man, I hope you're taking notes. A lot of good jewels getting dropped here. Let's shift gear over to mindset, right? Let's talk about mindset real quick and how important it is for all of us, you know, to have control of our mind and just be in the right mind frame. What is some of your favorite things that you like to do to keep your mindset in check and to stay sharp? Well,
so my life changed manifestation. Manifestation changed my life. And if you watch like Conor McGregor, he talks about it. If you're into hip hop in the UK, Bugsy Malone. Have you ever, you know who Bugsy Malone is? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever seen his YouTube about how he created his whole whole life just in his mind?
Oh, you know, that's very similar to Russ.
Yeah. So success leaves trails, man. And if you read about the most successful people, just grab books and just read documentaries, man. Or just watch documentaries, read biographies. And you'll find that there's consistency in it, man. And the consistency is vision. It's imagination. It's like they saw it before it happened. So that tells you something. That tells you wherever my mind is pointing, whatever my energy goes and my attention goes, right? And then I end up manifesting that desire. So, you know, for example, when I was an alcoholic, all I could think about was drinking. So guess what happened?
You drank.
I drank. Right, but now, bro, all I could think about is the vision of my future. And honestly, everything that I have in the 2 years, everything I built was literally through a vision board. The view I have on Stevenson Ranch and the apartment, the luxury apartment complex, whatever you want to call it, I live in, the view, I had a vision for it. I had it on a vision board. My body, same thing. The car, same thing. But there was a vision. There was an imagination. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where it all kind of ties in with the mindset. It's just being able to see yourself. Like, for example, for you, right, being a DJ, like it's like closing your eyes every morning and just envisioning the crowd and just
envisioning California opening back up.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's about having that feeling and the belief that you will be that DJ. Yeah. But you embody it. You live the life as if you already are. You walk it. The confidence. Super important. The confidence, the charisma, and it's a practice, right? It takes some time, man. And a lot of us, we're so focused on the exterior, right? The fitness industry and the hype about having a six pack and being lean and everyone's dieting and eating. Nobody's feeding the mind. Do you ever audit the music you listen to? Have you ever? It's like music is like hypnotherapy, man, and nobody talks about that.
Yeah, that's actually so true. It's funny you say that because I have a playlist on my phone. It's called Mindset, and then I pretty much add a bunch of songs on there that make me feel powerful, that make me feel good, that make me feel like I have already arrived to my goals, right? So like I have like certain songs, and then I just listen to that playlist in the morning. You know, like when I'm waking up, getting my day started, because these songs, like my mind makes a connection with these songs, and and like they make me feel the way I want to feel,
in a good and a bad way, right? So there are songs that I've noticed that there were certain songs, and this was before, so when I was going back and kind of assessing my life, and there were certain songs that I would anger. So I would drive a little bit faster, right? I would be more prone to get mad at somebody, like, road rage, and things of that nature. So I found it very fascinating, man. And like, music is frequency. And so if we are ourselves, our bodies are frequency. So what I mean by that is you have to manage your frequency, man. First, you have to raise your frequency. So you have to do things like eating properly, certain nutrition, meditation, things of that nature, being in line with who your true nature, your spiritual connection, right? Whether you want to believe in God or not, you're spiritual, right? There's something more in you. And being able to be connected in line with that. But you have to manage your frequency, man. And honestly, I personally do think, this is my theory on it, that everything designed around us is to deplete that frequency, or is to lower the vibration. So the food they give you, the processed carbs, the sodas, the information, the news, man. So if you're not conscious, if you're not aware, when they say woke, most people say woke, they don't understand what it truly means. Right. But to be aware, have awareness, is then you start managing your frequency. So you become a frequency manager.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. I listen to a podcast every morning, and today's episode, it was actually really interesting. They were talking about getting to know yourself and how important that is, right? Knowing yourself and knowing why you want things. A lot of times we want things, and then he said this strategy is called limbing or something like that, where pretty much you kind of, when you want something, you start asking yourself a series of questions, and you start pretty much getting down to the root of why it is that you want that thing. And then when you finally get to the root of that, whether that's aligned with your higher self or your lower self is what makes you, how you make your decision. Right. Is this something that's going to help me in a positive or negative? So like an example of that would be, the example that he gave was a BMW, right? He's like, I want a BMW. Why do I want a BMW? Well, because it's nice. How is that going to help me? It's going to help me feel good, but why? Or he would ask more questions. Pretty much he got down to the bottom. It was like he wanted a BMW so he can prove back to his people in California that he was successful, right?
Damn, but that's what it really comes down to, right? Even to the clothes we wear, and I found myself in the same type of journey because I grew up, and that's what there was the cars and the clothing and the lifestyle that you had to portray. It was an image. When I went through my whole series of alcoholism and recovery, I realized that everything that I was built on other people. Well, other people had built me.
A lot of influence.
It was the influence of everyone but myself, man. And that's why I hated myself so much.
Yeah.
And now that I'm me and I love myself, I like myself, I affirm it, that's a whole different life, man. Everything that I do, wear, drive is for me. No, it has nothing to do with anyone else.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good because it makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, man, it's like if you ask, so many people don't ask that question because when you get deep and then you have nothing left because you're like, well, I wanted a BMW. Now I've talked myself out of it, but now what?
Now what? Yeah. In his situation, he asked another question. And he pretty much got down to the bottom that he wanted peace. Why does he want his people in California to see that he's successful? Because it's going to make him feel good about himself. Why do you want to feel good about yourself? Because you're going to feel at peace. So at the end of the day, he realized the BMW and peace had a connection. So it's not really the BMW that he wanted. Really what he wants is peace, inner peace, right? Mental peace. And then he was talking about how that using that strategy is somewhat connected to people like monks, that are people that don't need a lot of things because they have already mentally achieved or feel what they want to feel.
That's
if
so
that
powerful,
makes any sense,
man. That is powerful, bro.
Like my friend, as an example, my friend just got this awesome BMW. I still drive my little Toyota, but I still feel the same way he mentally feels when he's in that BMW.
But who has more power?
Exactly.
Who has the power? Drop that bomb.
Yes.
Dude, it's like Can you imagine that? Like somebody driving a Rolls Royce, but you feel like you're driving one, you're not paying that payment, but you can draw the same feeling from life.
And then, everybody's different. There's people that could be, that do genuinely enjoy nice things. And there's people that genuinely buy nice things to keep up with the Joneses, and all these kind of things. But it's just crazy. I heard that today in this episode and it just blew my mind. I was like, holy shit.
Honestly, I think a lot of times we collect a lot of stuff that we don't truly need or want. I think a lot of it just ends up collecting dust anyway. So it's like, what happened to collecting things for our soul, man? Right? It's like, and that comes through nature and just being in line, man. Just how about just being present? How many times are we just not present, man? I have to, even today, a few times I told myself, stay here. Because the mind goes and the mind goes to the phone and tomorrow and what does the calendar look like and what do I have to do? It's like, damn, I didn't enjoy it. And I thought back to when, have you seen the Michael Jordan, the series?
On Netflix?
Yeah. Dude, there's a part, I forgot which episode, and the guy talks about, he's like talking about Michael Jordan's biggest strength, and it's like, it's not his size, it's not his ability to play basketball, it was his ability to stay present.
Yes.
And I was like, damn, he meditated, and because dude, have you ever meditated?
Yes, dude, I meditate every morning.
Okay,
every morning. Man.
See, we have a lot in common, dude. So
yes.
I bumped it up. I bumped my meditation up to 30 minutes, bro. I do it. So Joe Dispenza is who I kind of his like guided meditation.
All right, so you definitely way deeper than I am. I only get 15 minutes in.
Okay, but like you know what I'm saying, when the body gets numb and like you just. It's a feeling, man. It's a high. It's like meditation is a drug because it's a healer, man. But my life is changed, man. I'm different. I react different. I just have more emotional control, if I want to say, right? Because I'm just more in
Talk
tune,
to me, brother.
man.
You're saying everything.
Like even when like everything happened in with this pandemic and the uncertainty of everything and some of the things that I've been through just being sober, because now, okay, for example, dude, when I was a drinker, when things went bad, guess where I went? To drink. Right, yeah. To numb the pain and to escape the reality of things. But now it's like through meditation, man, I found that it's as if not even bigger.
Yeah, I find every day, just dealing with other people, even my own friends and family, I'm the only one out of all of my friends that meditate, right? And out of all of my close people, I always tell people to do it, and people just blow me off like they're crazy. Hey, you know what?
You're crazy, bro.
My girlfriend, she suffers from anxiety sometimes, and I say, babe, you got to get on this meditating thing. Like, it's so good, and she tries it once or twice, and it's obvious, it's hard when you're getting into it, right? So, that discourages a lot of people. But I notice so many people that don't have control of themselves, their emotions, their mind. They get, it's so easy to piss people off because they can't control themselves.
Right.
Like,
it's their automatic program, man. They're programmed to react. When you meditate, I feel like you start taking control of that programming. You get into that subconscious mind. And even through my meditation, you should probably try this when you start extending the time, is now after, like, I say the 20th marker, when you're in the meditative state, where you're absent of thought, right? You're just sitting in the present moment with yourself, is then do your visualization. That's when you like,
that's another level,
because you're already at the subconscious. So now you're implanting what you want the universe to give you.
Yeah.
And you're there in the moment. You're enjoying it, bro. You get up like, dude, I'm that billionaire that I just saw.
That's crazy.
You feel it. You talk it. You walk it. Things like opportunities start coming your way. The universe starts just gifting it, man. Because it's a whole different. It's at high levels, man.
And you know what I realized going through this 2020 pandemic, my life got so crazy. It got so dark because of what was going on. I stopped meditating. I stopped working out, right? I stopped doing journaling. That's another thing that I really enjoy doing.
Me too, every day.
Journaling.
Yeah. For 4 years, I have journals, bro.
Dope. That's what's up, man. Yeah. I've been doing it for about 2, on and off, and I stopped doing those things, and my life got really bad. And I realized when I picked those good habits back up,
speaking volumes,
it was like a completely different turnaround. Like, my mindset was sharper. I just started attracting more things, more positive things into my life, and things just started turning around, getting better. And I was just like, I was just blown away, bro. I was like, holy fucking shit.
Have you ever gone back to your journals? Have you ever started reading the ones from the beginning and just seen the growth?
Yes.
And as a human being. So for me, man, I'm gonna share this to the world one time. I have to. It's part of, I guess, the mission. Like 2 years of them when I was an alcoholic. So I have journals like one day says I'm gonna quit. I got this. And then the next day, sorry God, I relapsed, or like I did it again. Yeah. So this constant battle, and it's all written, bro. I have it all documented. And I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Maybe I'll show my kids one day, just a battle, bro, between like just evil and good, and this constant just seesaw, man. And then you go as when I got sober, now I'm like, it's just all about like positivity and like what I want out of my life. My gratitude list gets longer and longer every day, it seems like. Yeah. I'm just finding more things to be grateful for, man. It's just, but it's crazy. Just going back to when you said I'm the only friend that meditates, man. And just, it's such an isolating thing. You just feel like you are the only one that does it. And it's like, you want to share that. Share that weapon so rare with other people. Yeah. And it's like, they just, like you said, man, it's hard for people just to sit down for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And that was the hardest thing for me because we have never done that since the day you're born. You're up, you're moving. How many times do you sit down? I'm talking to you, the listener, right now. How many times do you just stop what you're doing and just sit there alone with your thoughts? No music, nothing. Just you alone with your thoughts. Chances are you don't do it often, and you probably have never done it. And that's why it's so hard to get into that habit, right? Would you agree? Right?
Yeah, it takes weeks, man, to at least get comfortable with it, right? Because when you first do it, you're like, this is weird. Like, you like no disbelief, and you don't get to that point where it becomes addictive. Is that one feeling, and it happens like for me more than it does. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I struggle for the 30 minutes, bro. I'm just like, I'm fighting it, but it is what it is. But I'll sit there. I make sure that the habit's embedded. But that time where I try to explain to people, it's like being on oxycodone. Like your
Never
body,
been on that.
Okay. Oh, it's like, okay, so the listeners probably know what I'm talking about. But it's like being on painkillers. Have you been on painkillers like morphine or something like that?
No, not yet. Never broke anything.
Don't ever do it again. Don't ever do it, actually. But if you do, it's like, you know, when you're meditating, your body's just numb, bro. You can feel like, you can't really feel your arms.
Yes.
But you're like, you're awake. Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful feeling. That feeling, it's like, you're weightless, man.
Yes. And going back to the topic that you talked about being present, you know, it's so important for us to be present in our day-to-day life. And when you're meditating, one of the biggest problems that I personally had is, and sometimes still do, you know, like for the listeners, you know, don't think that one day you get good at meditating and you just can achieve this incredible state every single time. Personally, myself, I have good days and bad days when I'm meditating, right? And one of the problems that I would have is like, I would get into that quote unquote the zone or whatever you want to call it, and then I would tell myself, oh my God, I'm doing it. And then I'm out. And then I'm out. And then I'm like, holy shit, I'm meditating. And then boom, I'm out.
I've even tried to like levitate off the floor. I thought about it a few times and I kicked myself out of it because I was like, I'm in that state. Let me see if I can fly. Yeah. And you're like, oh damn, I'm back to reality. Like your senses come back. But
yeah.
Dude, I mean, if that more guys like us have to talk about this, and I try to share it so much on my social media and like, because man, like mental health, I see so many people struggling that I don't even know how to reach out to them, man. You know, you see, and you know it too, because it's like we follow people's lives, you know, and we see people self-destruct, man. Yeah. And it's like, even if you want to try, the problem is even if you try to come at them and try to come from a place of kindness and contribution, it's frowned upon, man. They think like, oh no, nothing's wrong with me, but.
Yeah, people just don't want to hear the truth. Yeah, people don't want to hear that they need help. People don't want to hear that they're not doing well, you know. And personally, myself, with this podcast and this industry that I'm in, there's a lot of mental health problems in you know that artists and creative people have. You know, I deal with artists and creatives all the time, and it's a serious thing, you know. They feel emotions really strong. So when they're really happy, they're super happy. But when they're upset, and down, they get really down. And I feel like that's a problem for creatives. That happens a lot. And also because I deal a lot with like rappers and stuff, like you said, it's frowned upon. You know, like meditating and journaling. That shit may look corny to some of these guys, but it's the fucking truth. When they get old, look at the older cats in the hip hop game. You know, like Russell Simmons. Yeah. Right? Russell Simmons, you know, he's all about this stuff. Rick Rubin, which is an incredible producer, has got an incredible music production career in the hip-hop game. He's all about this as well, you know, and this is real shit. But I think a lot of this also comes in maturity, like people mature at different points in their lives,
Right.
and then also when they choose to accept, that they're gonna actually try it, and they're actually gonna try to change their mind and change their life, and they're gonna start from doing it from the inside out.
Yeah, and I'm surprised, man, when you talk about your industry, because I've seen it, right? Like you see the suicides and things, and the drugs and the rehabs, and the constant relapse. Like you're surprised that the music industry, like hip hop and EDM and everything else, all the music industry, they don't adopt those like coaches and like that kind of lifestyle. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna come. I think it's coming.
I think so too.
I think it's a wave, man. You see Tony Robbins is now coaching some of the artists and things of that nature that you wouldn't typically see him coach. And I think it's phenomenal, man. I think, and if the space talks about it more, I think it's going to encourage the youth, the younger population to adopt it too. And I think, you're on your way. I mean, look at LeBron. He's like, I think he's promoting a meditation app.
Nice.
So that's huge, man.
Kobe was huge on that.
Yeah. Well, Kobe was also about presence, and he talks about it, like it says a lot of his interviews and just his like Mamba mentality and having that sense of focus, man. So we can go on forever.
Dude, this has been a great episode. We're about to wrap it up now, but before I let you go, two quick things we want to touch on real quick. You and I seem to have a lot in common. You seem like a dude that's in great shape, okay? Now, let me ask you this, and I know Drew's going to look at me like I'm crazy because he's seen me do this to everybody. Have you ever tried jiu-jitsu?
Yes.
You have?
Oh, hell yeah, bro.
Don't come at me and tell me you're a black belt, and I didn't know this whole time.
No black belt here, but
like, yeah, bro.
No, in the military, you had to, like, it was part of your, like, PT was jiu-jitsu. We had to, like, roll with each other.
So have you ever, out of the military, have you ever gone to an academy or anything like that?
No, brother, no.
Okay, well, I'm a huge jiu-jitsu fan, I'm fairly new to it. I've only been doing it for, like, 2 years.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's helped me a lot with my mental state. And just in life in general, so I just wanted to ask about that.
Which one do you?
Which Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Is it out here?
Yeah, I go to Victorium Athletics.
Okay.
Shout out to Victorium Athletics. My professor, actually, I interviewed him on one of these episodes, and I got another professor coming in soon for this. And I just what I love about it is that it's such a mental art. It's physical in the beginning, and Drew can go ahead and confirm this. It's very physical in the beginning, right? But once you get past that part, it's an extremely mental fight. It's just like a real life game of chess.
Bro, I just remember seeing that weight sometimes didn't even matter in jiu-jitsu. I've seen little guys like tap out.
Because it's a lot of it's technique.
Because I remember when I first started rolling, it was all about like strength. Who can I overpower? And I was like tired in like 2 seconds, man.
Right.
And then I was mounted, and next thing I'm getting like choked out and like in an arm bar or whatever. But
yeah.
When you start learning the art of it, it is about composure, man. It's about breathing and just being mindful and being present.
And you take all of those things outside of the mat and put it into the real world, and boom, you got a recipe for success.
It's funny you say that, man. A lot of people actually talk volumes about that. Joe Rogan's talked about it on his podcast. I've heard other podcasts talk about jiu-jitsu. And even just the fight game.
Yeah.
Just as far as training, boxing.
It's dope. It's good shit. I mean, you said you live out in Valencia now, right?
You're Stevenson Ranch.
Okay, well, I was going to say if you should come check out his gym, but I'm sure they got plenty of gyms over there.
I'm honestly down to come roll.
You would love the vibe that we have at my gym and my professor. He's pretty much all about, like, he's also an ex-military guy. He was in the Marines. And he's all about, like, mindset and all of those things. It's a great vibe. Victorium Athletics. But, all right, man, the final thing we like to get into on this podcast is called story time. Do you have anything you would like to share?
Yeah, man, I don't know.
From your experience as a real estate agent or working in the nightlife?
Dude, I'm laughing.
Anything.
I'm laughing because, like, 10 years of my life, I don't remember.
You ever gotten chased by a dog while you walk into a house thinking...
Oh, shit, dude, you just hit it. Okay, so check this. This is actually really funny, bro. So I'm with a client, and we're going to go look at a house, man. And I didn't read the agent remarks. It said, don't go to the backyard, beware of dog. I assumed the dog was, like, put away or, like, fenced in or something. And so thankfully, my buyer didn't follow me out. So I get out, bro, and I literally turn the corner. And I honestly, in my mind, the dog's tied up.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking it's loose, bro. And I turn, bro, it's a blue-nosed pit. And I'm just, so you're going to assess it. You look at him, you see the doghouse, you don't see a collar. So then you're like, dude, this guy's not tied up, man. And so then you think to yourself, like, how the people, then you think to yourself, oh, what do the people always tell you? Oh, don't look scared.
Run.
And
yeah.
What? What do you mean don't run,
Don't
bro?
get scared. They can fear your energy or some shit like that.
Dude, I got massive thighs. I can make it like the sprint. Bro, and all you see, he sensed it to the dog. If my buyer wasn't alert enough they were going to close the door.
Oh, shit.
Thinking that I was already in the home. Mm-hmm. They thought I left the door open. So it was like a fraction of a second where the buyer's hand's on the door. I run in and he closed the door, bro. And I was probably seconds away from getting
bit.
Boom, right in the booty.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm glad you brought it up, man, because that story I actually tell a lot of people, too, because it was intense.
Story time from the point of view of a real estate agent. Yeah. There it is, man. All right, Vic, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. Why don't you let the people know where they can find you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, everything's simple, man. Everything's at Notorious Agent. That's the name. That's what it's on my YouTube channel. Instagram, again, it's at Notorious Agent. The Raw Fake Group as well. At the Raw Fake Group, you can find everyone on the team. Andrew doing the marketing, all the buyers agents, the great people that we have. So if you guys need us for anything real estate related, man, just hit us up. We'll give you the information you need.
There it is. Vic, appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Hope you guys had a great time and had an interesting time listening to the episode, man. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Squad Talk.
Squad!